side of the top lane. So Nagari should actually be fine if Doran would go for that. Olaf now banned away.
Morgana going to be banned away next.
Stop.
And then the Nautilus to follow up on the side of DRX. And then surprisingly, Yuumi is going to be locked in here by Damwon in the first pick of the second round. And very surprisingly, DRX are going to lock away the Karma. Nope, Salty Runback has been discontinued as there is the Renekton ban. And it looks like Nagari does want to play the set top lane, judging by that one.
Given that this is happening, I do wonder if now this means that we get jungle R4. And again, if you're a viewer tuning in, what does R4 mean? It means red side 4th pick. So it's just an easy way to talk about the draft phase and the order. Okay, Nautilus was banned away by DRX. Will Damwon go with jungle R4 here? And they will. It's going to be the Sylas.
Yeah. Still flexible, I guess, between Nagari and Canyon is the Sylas and the set, so they might be able to judge that one based on what matchups they're going to get. As we do have the Karma here, despite the Morgana being left available. It might be that DRX just go for the same composition all over again. That being said, Doran might want to pick something else topside because now there is a Sylas as well on this map with the opportunity of Damwon picking up the Gangplank in response if they would like to.
And you already know that there's going to be so much magic resistance, and it seems like DragonX really just not respecting Damwon as... What?
Was that going to be support set, perhaps? Is it support set here on the bottom side of the map as Canyon's going to lock away Lee Sin? Okay. That's a choice you can make.
Sorry. A bit allergic to the... the pick that Damwon just locked in on R5. They had everything going for them.
Yeah.
Oh man!
No,
well,
this was their wild card. It's
this,
like, and
if that
we will trump you with the 0-12 Lee Sin.
The thing here is, if that was just an Ornn and Sylas went into the jungle and you play the same early game once again with setup and top lane, you get magic resistance on every champion, and then you have the ornaments and you have a defensive Ornn ultimate against DRX's team composition. I don't know what the hell DragonX would ever hope to do in the mid game. I really have no clue. But now Damwon, in between games, they decided, you know what? I want to have a little bit of more early game pressure. That wasn't the problem last game. In fact, that could lead to a lot more volatility. And now Varus Karma, they should have even bigger edge against Ezreal set down in bottom, and this set's going to be even more of a problem in this game number 2.
Yeah, going to be absolutely anemic. And it's not like Lee Sin is going to crush Sejuani before she's strong as well. Both of these champions do like to get to that level 6 before they really do anything. And yes, Lee Sin's going to have a little bit of skirmishing power as we move into the early game, but I just don't think it's going to be enough here as DRX, it looks like the draft has worked out even better this time around. As we do have the Unsealed Spellbook, so it's looking like Doran is going to be going the AP variant. And I think many of us were expecting that. We only saw one 80 cannon so far this season, and it was pretty bad.
Well, it's going to be Omnistone on set, and we'll see what ends up happening. As they're looking to cheese, as Lee Sin is on a 12-game loss streak here in the LCK. So here's the thing about Lee Sin. A lot of people, they'll say, well, if we play the early game right, we should be able to get advantages. Play the other side of the coin. The enemy can say if we play our laning phases right, we can't die to ganks. And then the Lee Sin just gets outstyled. He ends up being basically an anchor for most team compositions. And he's very out of place with the Ezreal, with the Zoe, with the Sylas. These are champions that they want to scale. And you can get an on-theme scaling champion in the jungle that is also really good with the Damwon team composition. But this Lee Sin, he might try to actually gank for lanes that shouldn't actually need any ganking. Whereas if he was a different kind of jungler, he could just match counter gank endlessly and show up with a massive edge in the mid game against DragonX. But maybe they're feeling a little bit flustered with how passive the early game was last time around, and now picking the Lee Sin, it's I don't know how to feel about it. So think
bad.
Yeah, I definitely do feel bad. This is much weaker draft now here in game 2. If the Ornn was locked in on R5, I actually think it would have been a stronger draft than game 1, which is, I don't even know how that's even possible to achieve. But I think this is much more now in DragonX's court than game number 1, and that should be good news if you are a DragonX fan.
Yeah, we actually saw this exact trade as Chovy's going to flash very early on in this game just to get a little bit of a better trade onto Showmaker. Very curious. That's going to give Canyon a target here in this early game, as he might need to go bottom lane, to be honest, as Beryl and Ghost are not having a great time.
Well, I think DragonX is... So my prediction, of course, yet again, is that DragonX is going to win, despite that there is some problems, as the game should drag on against the Ezreal Zoe. But again, it's them, so you do feel a little bit confident, as well as Damwon's tendency to do things. However, the early game has started out a little bit better for Damwon, in that Chovy did blow his flash very early on. And also, he doesn't have teleport here on the LeBlanc, so it's going to be Ignite versus Ignite in mid lane. And you can just see the problems with the set. Very different from the Yuumi. Even though Beryl is very healthy, there's going to be a lot less potency, and if this lane falls behind, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah, and also there's no sustain this time around, so it's not like Ghost can stick around in the lane for the amount of time that he was able to with the Yuumi in his back pocket. So a little bit of a worry there as the cheetah recalls that you talk about have been taken. Deft actually decided to go for the heal this time around, so not with the teleport, so can't actually get back to lane as quickly. It is able to sneak one through pretty nicely there, as you can see. Nogri getting taken down relatively low, but still has 2 more of his Corrupting Potion charges, so he'll be absolutely fine, as Doran's just looking to try and harass him here in this early game. So far, Nogri hasn't been exactly zoned away from CS or anything like that, and so everything should be okay for the set, especially with Beryl making a rotation topside with Canyon.
And the thing that's so peculiar about this is that the wave is actually coming back into Doran if he wanted it to. And so Beryl might go for flash here.
Yep. And he's going to get hit by the Phase Breaker. Eventually flashes as in goes everyone on Damwon's side, and First Blood is going to be taken. A late flash is punished very, very swiftly.
Yeah, Doran really greeting right there on his flash. He tried to get value out of holding it to see if he could outplay it, but in doing so, finds himself punished as, okay, double Doran's Blade for the cannon up in top lane. Now, he does have the spellbook, but I'm still curious what he's going to end up going or committing to as the cannon itemization. Take a look at this. So, the wave is coming back into cannon, which he should be happy with. But he's constantly auto-attacking the wave, and Beryl and Canyon, they actually rotate up. And, you know, we talked about Canyon before. It was a bit of a sand gambler. And this time around, their rotation ends up being rewarded, and they find themselves with a little bit of an edge. They get the First Blood on the set, who now has also picked up Boots, so he's going to be able to get Predator available to him, and the early game is probably going to be very stagnant once again.
We'll see whether that works out for DRX or whether it works out for Damwon here, because we don't have, you know, the Ornn that's going to be skewing things or anything like that. And this time around, Nogri does have a bit of an advantage in this lane, as Beryl finds the Haymaker, but Snare still comes in and Beryl takes way too much damage, as you can see underneath that turret. You get stunned up even for a moment, it means that all of Death's Poke is going to be free. And that is very, very scary, as Canyon clearing out some vision. W lands there from Ghost, but it's all about just pressuring Beryl. Has to use the Haymaker defensively to avoid dying to the Q of Deft. Canyon moving on over here, as you can see. Inspire Shield coming in. He puts down the ward, but a control ward already there for Damwon. So going to deny that. Pyoshik going to move up towards the top side. Nogri does still have flash available if he gets himself out of the way. That is the ulti stolen here by Nogri, but doesn't actually have to use it just yet. They get the flash, and they move on out.
And now this is going to be Damwon picking up the Ocean Dragon here. That's going to be the first one going over to them. That's also going to buy them a lot of time, even if they would fall behind in later stages of the game, because it's going to be it's going to be another 5.5-minute block that DragonX would have to wait to capture a soul, unless they just steal it.
Yeah, they just steal it with a Varus Q, as now Beryl's in trouble as well. Two-man face breaker. That's a fantastic exhaust onto Ghost, who has to get himself out of there. And again, DRX have found the moment in the early game, and Carrier just going 1 versus 1, still trying to find Ghost after he collects his flash. And Ghost can't wait under that turret because he is 1 piercing arrow away from dead as Showmaker throws out the flash. He has to land his paddle star, or does he? As he does have Ignite available to him. The Electrocute also going to help out as now Def lands the Chains of Corruption. Pyoshik is here as well, only level 5 as he flashes over to try and find this Zoe. That flash is going to be collected as now Chovy flashing on forward finds the Ignite as Beryl. I don't think he's going to be able to find any of the Dark Harvest stacks here, as it looks like he might just be one himself, as double kill comes in for Chovy. 4-2 here in this early game.
And this is it once again, Atlas. It was so stable. And the game didn't need to have this happen, but DragonX, they pounce like lions on Damwon's mistakes. And then it just keeps happening. It just keeps falling apart. And now they find themselves down about 1,000 gold. They're going to now make a rotation for the Rift Herald. They're going to pull some of their laners over to do it. And you can see Deft, he's just running back down to bot lane. And so everyone watching, just pay attention to the shared XP as well as the amount of waves that Varus gets. There's already 3 waves waiting for Varus down in bot. That's already invalidating the Herald Gold and the XP that Ghost and Beryl are now missing out on. And the Varus, he's going to get a 4th wave down there in bot lane. He's going to get turret plates. Talked about this even on the LCS broadcast yesterday. Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. Teams do this a lot. They're going to get the top tier 1 turret. And all of those turret plates. Doran's going to try to live here.
Oh, Canyon misses the flash Q. And Pyoshik does have ultimate available to him. And the turnaround looks too easy. Beryl puts his face in it and is not going to be able to break the faces of DRX here. It's 2 kills. It looks like some tilt, but True Shot Barrage might be able to answer something back. Chovy able to distort over this wall as the bubble does land. And Chovy's forced to go back to that original distortion. But DRX find way more than they deserved in that particular moment.
Well, DRX are really happy with everything that's going on in this game. 2,500 gold lead, 3 kills on Chovy. And that's not someone that you want to have all the gold. Very akin to Death.
Oh, yeah.
One of the scariest players in the world with an advantage. And on the LeBlanc against a team that can't get to the magic resistance. Not anytime soon.
Nope. And you can see Beryl, he was standing there lying in wait, but he didn't actually favor the 1 versus 2 as Ghost. Gonna have to get out of this brush. And Carrier says, no, you're not allowed to have any of this farm. You're not allowed to enter this lane. And it might just be that DRX can shove down this top wave, try and grab themselves a couple of turret plates, as Ghost is going to have his back denied. And the Sharks are circling around this outer turret on the top side of the map. They're doing the same thing to Deft bottom side, but you can see Ghost not going to be the lucky one here, as he's just going to get taken down. Pyoshik able to tank up that turret for days. And you can see Deft, he's just going to take himself a Krug camp and not even worry about Damwon making any sort of an advance, as Chovy is making his way over here. Canyon going to find him. The chains aren't going to land, though. And Chovy going to get out.
And right now, Canyon, he's moving down here into bottom. This is really scary for Deft, though. He's going to go down.
Yep, he's just gets a little bit greedy underneath that turret, as you can see. Had Chains of Corruption, just didn't have an option to actually use them. As Showmaker, he's going to get chained. Chovy under here. Rift Herald is going to be spawned, so this turret is certainly not long for this world. Doran up towards the top side, going to be able to get a few plates there for himself, but this might have been enough to buy at least a better time as the mid-game does roll around for Damwon.
And Doran, I mean, he's getting a lot of value up here in top lane. He is going for the Proto Belt on the cannon. Now, unfortunately for DRX, Cloud Dragon's coming up second, so not the most impactful Drake that they can be rewarded with. And just look at the execution here by Damwon. They clearly forced the issue. They missed the Q on Lee Sin. They should have given it up, backed up, and placed the Rift Herald and just, you know, cut their losses. Obviously, they should have been able to get a little bit more there, but Nice movement out of DRX as well to avoid some of the abilities. And as we come back now into live, we're seeing the Karma bully the set more and more in this game as she's really coming online. She's almost going to have the Athene's Death, Umbral Glaive already completed for him as his first lethality item. He's up again in the CS department. And
by a large number as well.
The difference this game as well is you take a look at the mid CS gap, and Chovy he's feeling pretty good. He's up 2 levels on Showmaker with a 40 CS advantage.
And this is also, once again, Chovy picking LeBlanc into Zoe, which is historically a decent matchup for the Zoe, and even doing it better than in game number 1. I mean, he was very close to picking up the MVP for himself, in my personal opinion, after game 1, is now getting chased out, Beryl with the Predator available, but Distortion's one hell of an ability, and that's going to get the LeBlanc out of there. This game feels like it's transitioned from game number 1 being all about Death to being all about Chovy, as Doran's going to turn around this little engagement very comfortably. There's the exhaust onto Noguri, and he's going to have to flash. The follow flash comes in. Stun onto Doran, though, does deny it as the chains come down. But the Q is going to be good, and Doran's going to pick up that kill as Canyon going to get snared by Carrier. And that's just the support telling the jungler that he can't go into a lane, and the jungler having to listen.
And Doran getting a solo kill onto Nuguri is not something I think a lot of people would have expected, as things are just getting a little bit worse and worse right now in this game. Damwon, they're only down 2,000 gold, so it's not the end of the world. They still do have the late game insurance policy, but you can see yet again, and it makes me, I'll be honest, a little bit excited. It is my guilty pleasure. Elise Sin doing nothing.
Oh yeah.
Once again inside an LCK match.
The catharsis of the 13 losses in a row. If this was a Friday, it would have certainly been an exciting time, as Deft is going to be delivered a blue buff. And yeah.
블루 나 먹어도 되나?
13 losses
나
in a row,
먹을게.
that's crazy.
우리만 가, 우리만 가.
Doran's perspective is very bright
나도
on
갈게.
his screen, as you can see.
Yeah, I actually really like that. That's actually really nice for my eyes. As Shinobi comes in here with the shuriken.
나 살았어. 이지공 생각, 이지공. 리신 탑이었어, 삼거리.
Yeah, some Ninja Gaiden stuff going on. As this is back to live, and once again, Noguri getting some attention here from both Pyoshik and Doran. Do have Sorcerer's Shoes as well as that Proto Belt completed. Doran's in a great position as he moves into the mid game, and fighting around this Infernal Drake will be very difficult here for Damwon, because the Kennen slicing Maelstrom really does have to be respected as ulti comes down from Pyoshik very, very quickly. Slicing Maelstroms are going to be channeled, but Noguri doesn't have the health bar for it. Haymaker comes in, Pyoshik times the flash beautifully and avoids everything. And Damwon just lose their top laner one more time. That 0-2 power spike that we talk about has come in for Noguri, but I just don't think it's going to have the positive effect that it's had in previous games.
And Chovy and Def just continuing to get solo XP in the side lanes, as Carrier is putting on so much of a show with this Karma. He feels like he's everywhere, feels like it's a carry champion, and really just living up to the power that Mage and Enchanter supports can have in games against melee supports. And Beryl not really finding his groove here in this game number 2. 3,000 gold lead for DRX.
And the set support just hasn't done anything this game. I mean, yes, he got like one gank that theoretically almost worked, even though it was a 1-for-2 trade. He did get a kill, theoretically, as Noguri throws out his Super Soaker, which is interesting. An odd item build here for the Sylas on the top side of the map. But yeah, this is Damwon looking out of sorts here in game number 2 after, like you were mentioning, the blunder in the draft. I don't know whether Beryl was necessarily planning on playing this set, and it really does look like they are not really figuring out what this composition is supposed to achieve as we move further into this game. 1 minute until the first Infernal is going to come up, and DRX can move to a soul point once again. And if they're able to get these next 2 Drakes, that means they will have had a monopoly on the Drakes this entire series. And it just shows that the DRX early game that they play around so well during the regular season is continuing to be just as immovable as we move into playoffs.
And remember, it started as well with the Dragons, with the steal onto the ocean. We take a look at this replay, and Keria just doing such a fantastic job. Pyosik managing to avoid the Lee Sin Q right at the very end. And because of that steal, they've now potentially threatened a 23-minute or so Infernal Soul point. Things are just looking really scary in this game. As DRX, there's no way they should ever be able to win this Infernal Dragon. Nagari, he's up there planted in top lane without teleport at about 25% mana. Should be an easy pickup for DRX.
And we have to remember as well the age of these players on DRX's side. If they win this series 3-0 and as confidently and comfortably as it looks like they're going to be able to, it's going to be really scary for T1 fans that are going to be waiting for this terrifying DRX in the next round of the playoffs. Because when you have young players that play emotionally like this, it does get scary, but there's the steal from Canyon. He immediately dies for it. Can DRX actually find a team fight as, in goes Dora, and they lock down Nogri. He's going to get taken out as now Chovy from the backside is looking to try and answer. Showmaker and Ghost are still scary right now, but they just can't approach DRX. But still huge that Damwon were able to steal away that Drake.
Yeah, Damwon being able to actually get that dragon via a steal was really important. I think DRX really cut themselves a little bit short by not trying to just run into Damwon and to being really overly safe, especially given that Zoe was on the right-hand side. Chovy would have been the one, Chovy did have first move towards left-hand side river, and that's a lot of Infernal.
Ghost! Looking for depth here. He lands the hail of arrows, but it's a 1-for-1, and you'll take that if you're Damwon.
Yeah, anytime that you have the better scaling inside of the game, you always want to take the 1-for-1s, as it ends up being a love shot in the end. But now, 4 minutes until the next major neutral is going to come up, and things are looking really stalled right now in this game. We got actually more action. Never mind, Alice.
Yeah, Beryl is going to use the Haymaker. That's going to keep him alive for the next little moment. You can see Doranjet chasing after Canyon as this Lee Sin not beginning to decay just yet, as we're still ticking towards that 20-minute mark. We'll see what Canyon's actually going to be able to get done here as he moves towards his Black Cleaver. Showmaker clearing out this minion wave is going to be able to do so pretty comfortably. As you can see, still one turret apiece for both of these teams, and we'll see where that attention's going to go as Chovy's going to land the chain onto Canyon and not going to be able to steal away any blue buffs by the looks of things, but Pyosik has different ideas. Keria lying in wait over towards the side as there's the blast cone, and Canyon actually flashes but doesn't get the kick and will be taken down. Nogari finds himself a mantra for an Inspire, I believe, but isn't able to get too much more there as Pyosik eventually does fall down. And it is Showmaker that picks up that kill. 2, 1, and 3 now for the Zoe. Can he get big enough to control a mid-game is going to be the question. As Deft here alongside Beryl looking to try and pressure out this outer turret in mid. Flash comes in, Keria in a good position right here as the showstopper comes in. Ghost doesn't find any of his abilities though, and Beryl going to get locked down. Nogari, can he get into position? The piercing arrow doesn't land from Deft, and Beryl is going to be spared. Deft falling down. This might be the opportunity that Damwon were looking for.
Yeah, and so Deft, he's pushing, trying to get the mid-tier 1 turret, and you can see he's poking a Set that is actually pretty comfortable underneath that turret because of Set's region. There should be no way that he would ever kill him, and Beryl capitalizes on the opportunity as we go back in time a little bit for the Infernal Dragon. So this was what was so surprising. Doran, I believe in this replay, he has Flash available. He has Slicing Maelstrom. Chovy was on the right-hand side. I really thought it would just run headfirst into Damwon and take the trade and let the Varus and LeBlanc clean up. But then right here, pay attention, this is the LeBlanc clone. Stops the kick by Canyon.
Oh, wow, yeah, the untargetability as we have yet another fight. Doran is extremely low, and he's just taken down instantly by Canyon, who's turned around that scoreline that was looking abysmal in the early game and is now starting to cling to some relevance. As we move further on in this game, Chovy not going to be able to find the chains there onto Damwon, and DRX is showing some shakiness in this game number 2.
Well, 1 minute until the Infernal Dragon comes up, and you can see the Silas trying to get towards that Banshee's Veil. Already has the Merc Treads. He'll be extremely tanky against everyone. And this time around, Ezreal is at 2.5 items, and Varus, only at 2.5 himself. So it is very different from last game when Varus was at 4 items to Ezreal's 2.
Yeah.
The very different. Yeah.
It's still hitting like a drone. I think that goes nowhere near maybe like you say.
So here's the thing, you have Dora on the top lane pushing the turret for free. You know that they're running up from bottom. And yeah, the question you have to ask yourself is 300, 400 damage on the turret really necessary to win this game? The answer would be no. Beryl basically says, what are you doing? Strengthening up with that carry on depth by how they're not quite able to. Doron running in. With this play, going to the place of Damwon, quite half the damage. The turret in. Actually, playing poorly unless even auto attack. They kill the Ezreal. This is the part of the game where Ezreal and Zoe gets so scary. You basically have one opportunity to crash on them like a tidal wave, and if you fail, they're going to juggle all the aggro and just pick you apart. Here we go, another key moment.
Is going to be locked down by Kyoshik, so there's no point. Canyon immediately is taking down Kyoshik. He's going to black, he survives for so damn long as it's Carrier that's burning down True Shot Barrage. He's going to lock down the kill in the end as Nogari walks away with a sliver of health. And now Deft is being chased by Beryl, who's looking for his Facebreaker cooldown. The flash is eventually gathered by the Damwon team.
And Showmaker having to deal with these piercing arrows, unable to push further forward. A big win for DRX, who now have so much more pressure moving towards this next Drake.
4.5 minutes until Infernal Soul is available and on the map, and things are gonna get really, really scary for Damwon real quick once that is available. As Kyoshik, he comes in clutch with the smite. And Chovy over the wall doesn't get brought down. The arcane shift a little bit too slow by Ghost, not able to send the bullet at Chovy. Does send out the True Shot Barrage, picks up Canyon, or Kyoshik, and then right here, Deft. This was another one of those flashes where he saw the hitbox and then flashed. And so a little bit off, respecting these set face breakers. And so he will not have flash available for the next fight. It's only a 4,000 gold lead right now for DRX, and the game is really even. So take that what you will. And a lot of it stems from the fact that Damwon, they're itemized very well. You can see the MR coming in on all of the champions, and this puts all the weight onto the Varus, who's only at 3 items this time around. This time last game, he was going on to 5.
Yeah, he was looking for that next one at this point in time as Nogari going to have his Banshee's Veil cracked, but Kyoshik going to make his way out of there immediately. The Abscond not going to land onto Doran. That probably would have spelt his life, to be honest. But luckily for him, he is going to get out of there. Stopwatch now complete for Doran as well, as Chovy just wandering around the enemy jungle, seeing whether anyone is out of position. Is Doran going to protect this outer turret top lane for the moment? Will be able to do so. Grabs that Q and clears up the last remaining minion. 5,000 gold, a little bit more than that is going to be the lead here for DRX, so it has extended. We'll see whether it's extended enough and whether Damwon are going to be able to get all of that money that is sitting on Chovy right now. 1,000 gold of the spoils if they ever are able to lock down this LeBlanc, who does not have a Banshee's Veil completed yet or any stopwatches or anything like that to really help mitigate that aggression.
And right now, we're just going to be playing ping pong for about 2 minutes, waiting on more items to come in until that very key Infernal Soul. And if DragonX gets that, I think that there's going to be little hope for Damwon outside of the Zoe. She's the only one with all of her 200 years in 0.25 seconds that would still be able to maybe turn the tides and get a pick-off.
Yeah, and Showmaker has been able to hit some of the key bubbles in these fights. He has found his eye in this particular game, Whether it's going to be enough to actually turn this one around is going to be yet another story, but so far, things have worked out better for Damwon in game number 2, despite the fact that they are behind. A minute and a half until this Infernal Drake, and this is going to be the real test for Damwon. Can they stop this one and buy themselves yet more time to try and scale further into this game with their Ezreal and Zoe, and allow them to be even more of a nuisance as we move towards even subsequent Drakes?
Well, 1 minute until that Infernal does come up. Void Staff on Chovy.
Oh, it's scary, man.
So, Hexdrinker, QSS, the MR stack, it is coming out on the side of Damwon. Banshee's Veil on the Silas. And you can see Lee Song gonna end up getting a Hexdrinker for himself. Zoe probably gonna end up picking up Banshee's Veil as her next item, but I don't think she's gonna have it by this team fight. So, this is what it's all gonna come down to, Atlas. If Damwon win this Infernal Dragon fight and get the dragon, I think it's going to be pretty impossible for DragonX to come back.
Well, Canyon's just going to pop. Chovy is going to ignite him. The last tick is going to tick down, pick up that kill. Cool guys, don't look at explosions. Chovy calculated that absolutely stunningly. And yeah, Canyon didn't even have an opportunity to use his kick. So now no jungler for the Infernal Drake fight in 15 seconds time. And Doran has minions knocking on inhibitor turrets on the top side.
I have no idea what just happened right there, Atlas. As Canyon really overestimated his ability to do something to LeBlanc there, and LeBlanc would be the one with autonomy over the whole situation, given that Chovy has the flash, Chovy has distortion. The ball is not in these. Okay, Dragon's
he's got a stopwatch. He's going to be able to use it as Nogre's going to get taken down. Beryl into the backline with the Showstopper. Finds himself a stun, but Showmaker has to get out of there. Beryl unable to lock down the kill onto Doran in the end, who is kept alive by Deft's heal. And now DRX looking to press forward towards this inner turret. Canyon has respawned, but is he just more walking gold? As DRX, they don't really feel like taking an Infernal Drake. They want to take a Baron.
What is going on? Infernal Soul is any soul is more valuable than Baron. The hierarchy is Elder, Soul, then Baron. That is always the order, no matter what. Take it away.
It is going to be taken. According to DRX, they thought that Baron was going to be more important. And yeah, I agree with you, personally. Not sure whether I would have done that. Probably would have left a couple of people to take down the Drake before heading over to a Baron and then locking that one down as well, which they probably could have done.
With the Infernal Soul, I'll talk about it right after this replay. So Chovy, on the right-hand side, distorts away and then tells Canyon really quickly to straighten up with the last tick of the Ignite, getting himself the kill, and that should have just been the Infernal, Atlas. This is one of the biggest blunders I've ever seen, and we've actually seen it a lot. Too many teams in 2020 have just turned off their brain and immediately gone over to the Baron instead of just getting the Soul. The Soul is worth more stats than the Baron would give you. It is worth so much value and power, and there's no conceivable world where you lose a Baron dance with that Soul backing you up.
Well, I mean, now DRX do have that Baron. They're using it to push up, so they're at least extending their gold advantage. And it's not like they gave away a soul by allowing Damwon to take it. Yes, 2 stacks of Infernal is not ideal, but maybe you can understand the thinking here by DragonX. I agree with you, though. I don't think it's really a good idea. It's like, I don't know, it reminds me of that episode of Family Guy, where it's like, you could have the boat, just straight up the boat, or you could have a mystery box that may contain a boat, you know? As Chovy diving on in. Pyoshik getting tagged by a Q, but it looks like the base going to be broken in a couple of places right here. And Chovy's continuing to look for this poke damage. This LeBlanc is terrifying right now as Showmaker taken down to half health. Def also has to be respected as the ulti comes in from Pyoshik, but in goes Beryl into the backline, lands a 3-man Facebreaker before going down, but the rest of his team unable to actually respond as Ghost gets himself out of the way. The Ignite continuing to tick down as Def
taking the turret forever, but he is going to survive. Grabs the kill onto Ghost as well, as now Damwon looking to try and put up their last stand. Chovy, he's one distortion away from a triple kill is what it feels like right here, especially with those piercing arrows landing. The portal jump's going to be good, not quite good enough, as Showmaker's still going to be taken down. And this, my friend LX, is going to be the end of game number 2, and DRX will move to match point. They don't need the Infernal Soul. They, in fact, don't want Infernal Soul. It's going to make the game too easy for them, as there pops the Lee Sin, and the Nexus short to follow. 23-11 here at 32 minutes, and DragonX do